So as many of you know who've been watching me for a little while, I know there's not that many of you right now, but I've been doing this thing called intermittent fasting for the past about 5 weeks. I first started it as an experiment that I intended to last 28 days, and once the 28 days was over, I kind of felt like extending it a little bit longer. Intermittent fasting has kind of been around for a while, and it's just starting to take hold in a lot of people's minds. What I've done has been a little bit different than some of the other protocols out there. So you have the lean gains where you fast for 16 hours, and then you have 8 hours to eat in. And then you have the eat stop eat, which you fast for 24 hours once or twice a week. That's 24 consecutive hours. What I've been doing has been a different variation on it, where I fast for 10 hours, then I have 2 hours to eat, then I fast another 10 hours, and then I have another 2 hours to eat. So it's a cyclical fast that has really worked out really well for me. My specific routine is I get up around 4 o'clock in the morning. I know, I'm crazy. Nobody gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go work out, right? So what I do is I get up at 4, I'm at the gym usually by 4:30, and I train in a completely fasted state. I haven't eaten anything except for, I'll take some branched chain amino acids right before I go work out, which has been shown not to really break your fast because there's no calories in it. It doesn't provide a notable insulin spike to break you out of the fast. So I'll take about 5 grams of branched chain amino acids before I work out. And then I mix another 5 grams in with my water, so I'll sip on that while I'm at the gym. I'll also drink a cup of coffee, which will provide about 200 milligrams of caffeine. Now, I don't brew coffee in the morning. I make cold brewed coffee, which is where you make coffee with cold water. You sit in the refrigerator for about 24 hours. And then, actually, I think the minimum is 16 hours for a good, a nicely brewed cup of cold brewed coffee. So that all I have to do is take it out of the refrigerator. It's cold. I don't have to worry about brewing it or anything, worry about it cooling down after I brew it. So I just, drink it on the way to the gym. So I've got my branched chain amino acids in my water that I take. Once I'm at the gym, I've been on a 5x5 program, which is I work out 3 days a week doing 5 specific exercises: the squat, the deadlift, the overhead press, the barbell row, and the bench press. And I'll alternate these exercises. If you want more information on my exact program, just look up StrongLifts, stronglifts.com I think it is actually. And they even have an app you can use to track your progress. But the reason I did that is I wanted to drop my weight, because I didn't want to focus as much on getting bigger, but I wanted to maintain my strength. And I knew that when I started fasting and had a calorie deficit, then my strength would probably suffer. So I backed down a little bit and focused more on lifting intensely rather than lifting for heavy volume. So it actually helped. And if you've been following along with me for the duration of that, you'll know that I dropped about 10 pounds of body fat while I gained about 10 pounds of lean body mass. And let me reiterate, I've said this several times, that I didn't necessarily gain 10 pounds of lean muscle. Some of that could have been water weight. But the thing is, the most important thing for me is that in addition to building a little bit of muscle, I also lost 10 pounds of fat. So I went from 200 pounds of body weight at about 19.9% body fat to 199.5 pounds at 14.3% body fat. So that's important to me. So when I get home from the gym, give or take, it's about 6 o'clock p.m. I'll eat till about 8. The first thing I do when I get home is I'll have my post-exercise nutrition, which will amount to about 500 calories. Lots of protein, a considerable amount of fat, and I've been going low carb during this, the last month and a half or so, however long it's been at this point, because I wanted for my body to tap into the fat stores. So between training in a fasted state and going on a low carb diet, then I've been able to significantly reduce some of my body fat while at the same time building some muscle. Now I'm not necessarily an advocate for low carb diets for everyone. I think having a low carb diet is a strategy for reaching a specific goal. And there's many ways to get to a goal. It's just this strategy happened to be for me to go on a low carb diet. I don't necessarily think everybody should, but it's what I did. So after I have my post-workout nutrition, I'll do a few things that I need to get done around the house and preparing for the day. And then I'll come back and I'll make some actual breakfast. I'll actually make a meal, which will comprise about another 500 calories of my daily intake. So between the hours of 6 and 8 a.m., I get about 1,000 calories for my daily calorie intake. And once 8 o'clock hits, I'll start my fast, and I'll fast all the way up until 6 p.m., which I'll break my fast, usually with another, a light shake, not as many calories on this one, and then I'll eat a heavier meal for dinner. And so that 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame will give me another 1,000 calories in my diet. So let's talk about the time between the time I break my fast in the morning and I fast for those 10 hours. Now, at first, it got to be pretty difficult around the 3 to 4 hour mark where I just start noticing the hunger. But after about a week, that went away completely. I think my body started to adapt to not having that food that I was used to eating during my waking hours. And it became clear to me that when you really think about it, hunger is a habit. When you start feeling those hunger pangs, you're not necessarily hungry. It's just your body thinks it is because it's used to getting food at that time of day. So you've actually trained yourself to be hungry. When you go 10 hours without eating and you get used to that, then you'll begin to realize that my body is not going to die if I don't eat for 10 hours. And so I think that's what a lot of people's biggest fear is when they start fasting, is that they're going to just start to disintegrate somehow. But realize that overnight, if you get about 8 hours of sleep, then your body's going 8 hours without eating, just about every day, unless you're the type of person to get up in the middle of the night to go for a midnight snack or something, which in that itself is also probably a habit. So once you get into it, then it won't take long for your body to get adapted to not eating. So that was probably one of the biggest eye-openers for me during this whole phase. So some people have asked me when I tell them what I'm doing is, they're really interested in it. When they find out my results, they want to see if they can do it for themselves, but they're not exactly sure how to get started. And really the only explanation, the only advice that I can give them is just to get started. Figure out what time of day is the best for you. You don't have to do the same type of intermittent fast that I did. You can do the Lean Gain 16-8, although I would probably advise you to start with something with a smaller time range because of the discomfort you're going to feel at first. So starting with a 10-hour fast twice a day from the time, like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then again from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is a good time to get started because it's not too extreme, but it's also a narrow enough time for it to be effective. But my main advice is if you want to get started, just get started. You can follow the 10-2 or you can follow the 16-8, either way. What you should expect, definitely expect some hunger. I'm not going to lie, it's at the first few days, it's kind of tough. The best way to get through it is to drink coffee. Coffee seems to blunt the appetite. Now, when I say that, I mean black coffee, no cream, no sugar. If you want to drink tea, that's fine too. Tea is another good alternative. If you want to put some lemon in your tea, lemon has no calories. Just, put maybe a teaspoon or two in there, and you'll be good to go. I've seen some people suggest, eating some fruit here and there strategically, but my caution there is that when you eat some fruit naturally has sugars in them, and it's likely that you'll spike your insulin, which will bring you out of the fasted state. So your body will no longer be going through its own glycogen reserves to fuel itself. So it's going to rely on some of the fruit sugar in there. My main points for this is if you're going to do this, you're going to need to exercise, because just fasting is, it will be effective for you, but it won't be nearly as effective as it would be if you compound it with an exercise program, like a strength training program. High intensity, low volume strength training program. The next thing you want to do is train in a fasted state. So don't eat before you train. And if you're the type of person where you can wake up in the morning and go straight to the gym, then that's perfect. If you train later in the afternoon, then just go to the gym later, train right before you go home and eat. The good thing about the program is that it's adjustable to your schedule. If you work out at noon, then you can come home and eat by 1. I'll let you work out all the details. But for me, I train at 4:30 in the morning. I know I'm crazy, so it works perfect for me. So you want a strength training program, you're going to want to train in the fasted state. You're going to want to reduce your calories to a good level. There's several calculators out there that can determine your daily expenditure and everything, and then determine from there what your daily calorie intake needs are going to be if you want to, cut fat. So that's what I did. I determined what that was. I went from about, upwards of 2,900 calories down to about 2,000. So my daily intake was 2,000, split it up between both periods of eating. And just find something that helps you blunt your appetite for the first few days. For me, it was coffee. I was drinking cold brewed coffee. First thing I'd do is drink coffee before I go to the gym. And then about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I have another cup. And that helps tremendously to not only burn fat, but to actually keep your hunger in check. So those are the biggest tips that I have in doing this. If you want to look into doing like the 16-8 or the 24-hour fast, then there's other resources out there. I'm actually going to do the 24-hour fast this weekend, so I'm going to try to log the entire day and record my thoughts on it and then post that up here when I'm done. So when I've done that, I will post a link here so that you can check it out. And I just want to thank you for watching. I didn't really expect too many people to be watching these videos. I just kind of threw them up there for my own record keeping. So if you're watching this, thanks. And if you'd like, subscribe. I'd appreciate that too. Thanks.